11 years after Saddam Hussein was deposed, Iraqi oil has achieved a notable milestone. Production in February was higher than in any month since Mr. Hussein took power back in 1979. But getting the oil out of the ground in Iraq, that's only the first challenge. And Sarah Kent joins us from London with the details on this one. So Sarah, broadly speaking, this is a good piece of news, right?
It's a very good piece of news. I mean, like you said, this is a milestone oil production figure, but it only lasted for a month. And then in March, we had oil production fall back down by 340,000 barrels a day. And that was because of attacks on a pipeline north to Turkey, which just kind of illustrates the issues you have here in terms of violence, infrastructure bottlenecks, corruption, all of these different things that could just bottle that oil up in the ground.
Right. And, you know, your story, very interesting story. You go into a lot of that, and I think you sort of point out that this number they hit, the 3.6 million barrels in February, that certainly is not a peak oil number for Iraq. The challenge literally is bringing this infrastructure that has had decades of neglect into the modern world.
Exactly, and that's really important for the rest of the world because we need that oil, maybe not today, but over the next 20 years, Iraq is going to be one of the single biggest suppliers of new oil to the world as demand continues to grow. So if that infrastructure bottleneck isn't solved and we don't get that oil into the market, that could mean bad things for oil prices.
And let's talk about the companies that are there right now. There's a lot of big oil companies in there. Obviously, they see the potential in it, but they're operating within these constraints. How different is the situation on the ground in Iraq compared to elsewhere?
Well, I mean, Iraq is this amazing prospect for most oil companies. It's one of the last frontiers where there's a huge amount of oil in the ground, and it's not technically difficult to get it out of there. It's relatively cheap to extract. The problem is, again, getting it out of the country is really difficult, and you have this bizarre situation where you have companies able often to pump more than they are on a day-to-day basis, being asked to cut back their production because there's not the capacity to get it out of the country. And as they continue to ramp up production, as they continue to invest more, that problem could be exacerbated.
And where, in the very long term, where do people see Iraqi oil production going? What does that mean?
Well, people see it continuing to climb. I mean, the International Energy Agency sees Iraqi oil hitting 8 million barrels a day within the next 20 years, which is a huge number. It would place it amongst the top 5 oil producers in the world. But they also warned that these constraints could hamper that output growth. And a huge amount of investment is needed for Iraq to hit that target. And unfortunately, year on year, the targets that have been set to date have been missed because of these issues.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, we have to leave it there. Great story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.